Welcome back, listeners, to the Nice to Meet You podcast. This is season 2, episode 7, and today I have the pleasure of speaking with Sebastian Sanders. Sebastian is the CEO and the founder of the Sanders Hand, which is a 501c3 nonprofit organization, which was founded in 2017. He is the chairman of SJS Enterprise. He is a youth motivational speaker. He is a best-selling author of the book titled The Art of Giving. He is a graduate of the University of Texas in San Antonio. He is from Houston, Texas, but currently he resides in Oklahoma. Join in with me in welcoming Sebastian Sanders to the Nice to Meet You podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be on here. Thank you.
Oh, no problem, no problem. I appreciate you taking out the time out of your day to speak with me. So first of all, like 501c3, like I don't know about the listeners, but for me, this is my first time hearing about 501c3. So can you kind of like explain what that is, like in layman's terms, and then kind of tell us like what is your mission? What is the mission of the Sanders Hands, and what is your goal?
Yeah, no problem. So 501c3 is the official stamp of a nonprofit operating in the United States of America. So you're recognized by the IRS and you're tax exempt. So this is big for any nonprofit organization. Once you start out and you build your mission and you build an organization, you want to get that 501c3 stamp because that's how you get the big donations, big sponsorships, big partnerships, and things of that nature. So it's pretty big in the nonprofit world or in business world in general when you're dealing with, sponsorships and donations and things like that. So we got that, I want to say, of 2018. So we were founded in 2017. I was a sophomore in college at the time. I originally didn't even want to do a nonprofit. And I didn't even know how. I just wanted to do like a donation drive and just give back to my local community. But then I feel like God kind of challenged me to find something deeper, find something better for myself. And so Sanders Hand was created. I want to say one night I just came up with the name and I just ran with it. And then we spent about 6 to 8 months, developing, us as a young nonprofit. At this time we're 19, 20 years old. We don't know anything about nonprofit. We just out there, giving back because that's what we like to do. So we spent time developing until we found a core mission that we ran with, and we evolved over time. But I think as a time presented itself, we found our niche and we found our what makes us us. So we have 2 programs, education and community, that are both dedicated towards empowerment, innovation, and diversity. So through education, the idea and the principle is to increase the minority income level while decreasing the poverty level in our minority communities, heavily African Americans and our Hispanics that are affected by poverty. This is because of the lack of resources and education that we have in these certain communities and school districts. One of the biggest problems that I noticed in our community, especially African Americans, with the lack of resources and the lack of things that we have, and we're always looking for people to come in and change. The biggest problem that we have is the economic gap.
Yeah.
If we learn how to close that economic gap, I think we can create change within ourselves and our community. And so that's one of the things that I want to be able to teach, with our programs, which is why we created a curriculum called Define Success. How do you personally define success? As an African American male in my world, rapping and athletes is the 2 things that deem successful to us, right? So I want to be able to walk in the classroom, walk anywhere, and give our kids the hope that you can be a doctor, you can be a scientist, you can be whatever you want. You don't have to be a rapper or athlete in your community to be looked at as a successful person. So that's why we want to be able to teach these skills that goes untaught inside of the classroom. Because I was a high school student 4 or 5 years ago. I learned a lot, but I learned a lot at home. My parents taught me a lot about life. So we have kids who are growing up in this society, and we're growing up in this new age, and they're not learning any skills that's necessarily going to help them. And you see why African Americans, we go to college our first year as first generation college students. A lot of us don't last because nobody taught us anything. You didn't learn anything in high school. So that's why we want to come in and bridge that gap for our kids. So through the curriculum, it's the 6 to 8 week leadership camp where you learn these different skills and you're built it up to be a Sanders Hand ambassador. So you have entrepreneurship skills. We want to teach you how to start a business, financial literacy, professional etiquette, how to conduct yourself in an interview or resume, cultivate the community through partnerships, volunteering, and donating. So since its founding, we service roughly over 3,000 youth. That was from Texas to Oklahoma. We have an annual scholarship for our middle school and high school students.
Okay.
We have a proclamation on April 3rd in the city of San Antonio for our work that we do within our scholarships and our kids. And I was 19 and 20 when I started. I didn't know anything, but I felt like God gave me a purpose, and I tapped into it at an age, and I just kind of ran with it. And it's been a blessing. It's been super grateful to just experience that and just continue doing what I'm doing. No matter where I am, how I go in life, I'm still going to be able to serve and give back to our kids, because the biggest thing that I can be able to do is pass on something to somebody else.
So I guess I feel like listening to you talk, it sounds like you had a mother and a father, like a stable home environment in your life. So what kind of drew you? So I know for me, I'm drawn to the education field. And one of the reasons I'm drawn to it because I feel like there was no one there to mentor me, to show me the right path. So it sounds like you had those people in your life to show you the right path. So what drew you to those type of that community of people that did not have those things? Because it sounded like you had someone to guide you in your life. So what was the background story in that?
I would say, growing up in my community, you had your mixtures of people. You had people who had both parents too, and people who didn't have both parents. And then you had a lot of people who really just didn't have anybody at home, to lead them. So I'm in the classroom with a lot of different people, seeing a lot of different experiences. In middle school and high school, a lot of people growing up faster than I did. And so I think being in those classrooms and being in those settings, it taught me a lot about life in general. And me and my father have a real close relationship. And he's always been, honest about a life, about anything with me. He always talked about everything with me about life. And so I think at an early age, he kind of exposed me to things that way when I ran into them, I wouldn't be shocked or scared, I should say. And so I just being exposed to those type of things and being around those type of people, you see and you develop a source of feeling of just feeling sorry for your people because listening to
Empathy.
yeah, sympathy. We're young kids, and some of y'all, I can go home and play video games. You might have to go watch your little brothers and sisters, and you're not able to go play sports or do certain things. And so, I don't know. I just always had a soft spot for it, and I feel like if anything, somebody has to stand up for our kids. And I feel like we look up to celebrities so much. In reality, I think it starts within us, within our people in our community, and that was just my thing. And so for me, I think one of the things that just produced the heart of giving for me was, as a kid, I used to get presents and things like that. As I got like a 13, 14, my parents just started giving me money. So I started getting, a good amount of money. But the first thing before I could buy myself anything, my dad would make me go and buy my mom a gift, grandmother gift, him
Okay.
a gift, everybody a gift, right? And he taught me that. He said, I'm not taking you to the mall until you buy everybody a gift. And so you're 13 to 14, man, you're like, I don't want to do this. Like, I want to go get the new shoes, get the new clothes, whatever. But, over time, I love it. Now I'm 23. I don't really care about you getting gifts. I'd rather take care of my whole family. And so as a kid, that giving was installed in me. And I think that's what, produced me to be the man that I am today. And so, just kind of seeing that firsthand and realizing there's a lot that can be done. And who says that I can't do it? And so that was just my thing. How can I change my community? And I was a big Tupac fan, still a big Tupac fan. So growing up listening to his music, growing up listening to his idea of life, I think that's what influenced me and still influences me to this day to give back and, be the change that I want to see.
No, I appreciate that because people can go the other way. Like I got this going on. I had someone to show me, guide me the way. Like I don't care about you. I got my, people show me like these are the morals, these are the values, these are the things that I can do to be successful. And sometimes, like you said, the celebrities they go out and they get the big head, they establish themselves, and they don't go back. Because sometimes they forget where they came from. And so I appreciate you like having the empathy and to realize that I'm successful. Like I want to bring you where I am. It's not for me to just keep it all to myself. And so, and then listening to you talk about like a few of the rappers and how like kids see people on the TV with this fast money. And so I heard your interview on YouTube and you said that you thought about being a rapper. And so how did you make that shift? Like what happened with that?
Oh, that was an interesting time. I think I just love rap music so much, or music in general. And so like I felt that I could do it. And then I think at that time, that was like 2016, you had so many young rappers just popping out, Lil Uzi, Lil Yachty, so many guys just popping out. And today's music is not what it used to be. So you're like, I can do that. So I kind of feel like, I could do it at one point. But I would say this, I think that taught me a lot about using my voice and just realizing that I had something there. God was just trying to show me, I'm not gonna have you rapping, but I'm gonna have you doing something else. And so I've always been a person that just got in front of people and speak in classrooms. I was in the plays. Like I just like that type of stuff. So, when I started to rap and I was like, maybe this is not for me. Literally 3 weeks later, I just found it in Sanders' hand. And so that's when I realized, like, I think me rapping or writing stuff, that was me preparing, for the next stage of my life where I'll be public speaking. So
Yeah.
instead of me writing a song, I'm writing a speech, for a group of kids or for a group of college students and things like that. So that transition, I think it was very interesting. Now that I look back on it, it was actually, I'm actually good that I'm glad that I experienced that. And I do think music will be a part of my calling somehow. Maybe an A&R or maybe I'll start a record label, something like that. I don't know, something like that. I think it'd be a part of the calling, but it'd be in a different twist. So yeah, I tried the rap thing, but I think every young black male has tried it. I think in
You
our
think
community,
so?
I think either some point either you tried it or you thought about it. I think it's crossed our minds at some point. because that's what we grew up. So that's a big part of our culture, music. And you kind of grow up idolizing certain people. And I think at some point, it may cross your mind whether you do it or not, but it's just a part of growing up.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that because the things that we go through in life, sometimes we start off right here and like we feel like we're way off our purpose. And like for me, the jobs that I've had, like I said, I'm going into education. The things that I've done have prepared me for where I am now. I know, like when you're going through, you're like, man, like what is this? Like what am I doing? But then when you look back over your life, you got to have the ability to reflect and see, like, man, like this taught me this, like this taught me these skills, like rapping, like you said, public speaking, all those skills, like those things were preparing me for now. And it sounds like you're self-reflective, and we gotta be like self-reflective. We have to be self-aware. And so looking back, so reflecting. So you said the business has been out, a not-for-profit organization has been out for about 3 years now. So looking at day one and looking at now, what have you learned? Do you feel like did you make the right decision in going about and starting a business, or is there anything you would have done differently?
I would say, I think a lot of us we'll always say we'll go back and do something differently. What I've learned about life is it happened the way it happened because that was the way it was supposed to happen. And so one thing that I noticed about the experience that I had, yeah, I had some ups and downs. Yeah, I had some success. I had some failures. But I don't think I go back and do anything different because everything that I did, it built me up to be the person I am today. And I really don't even think I think I barely touched the surface of what I've done. I think we haven't even hit the prime of exactly what God wants us to do with the Sanders hand. So I think it was just a building block, for my next stage of life. And if I probably could possibly go back and do something different, I think I'll try more stuff. I tried literally everything that I think I could have, but I think I could try some more stuff and see where it goes. One thing I tell people is, as a young person, you can go out and do anything you want because nobody's going to look at you like a success or failure at 20 something years old, at 20, 21 years old. You may look at yourself like that, but older people may look at you like, man, keep pushing and keep going. And so I would tell myself, sometimes I pull back on something because I was scared of what others might say. I would just go back and try it because you never know what's going to pop or what's going to hit for you, but you're going to learn from each experience. Every time we have failed at something, I've learned from it. Our first project that we brought out was the Sanders hand boxes. I think the idea and the concept was there. I just don't think I took enough time doing a little market research, and that was on me. I learned a lot from it. Now, fast forward 3 years later, I tried to bring it back, but then I realized you got to strike while the iron is hot with certain things. So if you kind of miss that window, it's kind of hard to go back and open that window because life evolves and things like that. So things like that I reflect back on, but I don't think I do anything different because maybe it just wasn't the right call at the time. Who knows? Everything happens for a reason. But just keep trying. What people like to say is I always tell people you don't want to live with any type of regrets. So whatever you can do
Yeah.
now, just go do it. As an 18-year-old, when I tell all my kids, you literally have the power to create anything you want because first off, you're in a classroom with thousands of your friends, or you're in a school with thousands of your friends. You can walk around the hallway and sell stuff to people. I watched my friends sell candy, and half of the people that bought candy, sometimes they didn't even want to buy candy. They just bought it because I got $1 in my pocket, right? So
Yeah.
imagine if you, as an entrepreneur in high school, you can do the same thing. So that's the same thing I tell my kids, man. Just go out there and try it, and just who cares if it fails or not? At least you did something. At least you tried it.
That's true. And so speaking for age, I don't think that like even if you're older, you're listening to this, you're 40, 50, it's never too late to do anything. I know with me, I'm in my late 30s, and so
Yep.
that I'm going back now to get a bachelor's. And so it's never too late to do anything. And so we put timelines on ourselves. We let society, we let social media, we let people put timelines, and we say that we're supposed to be doing this at this time, we're supposed to be doing that, you're supposed to be married with kids at 25. Like that's what that was my goal. And so we put those timelines, but like God is in control and everything happens for a reason. And so you made a big jump. Like you said, you're from Texas and you moved to Oklahoma City. Like what? That's crazy. Like you say you're 23. Like what have you learned about yourself since making that big leap? And what advice would you give to anyone thinking about doing the same thing?
I think a life hack at a young age that a lot of people don't talk about, leaving what you know to go something that's very unfamiliar and you're uncomfortable with. Because you just learn so much about yourself. Me moving to Oklahoma City was one of the best things that happened to me. Now, granted, now I feel like I've been here for a while. Okay, it's time for me to go. This is not home. This is not what I'm used to. I've learned my lesson, what I was supposed to learn here. Let me get out. But the first year and a half here, I learned so much. When I first got here, that transition was different. I'm fresh out of college. I went to school with my closest friends. We literally grew up middle school, high school. We like brothers. That type of story is it doesn't happen often. So I had the best college experience I can ever think of. Now everybody's going in separate ways. I moved all the way to Oklahoma. Everybody kind of stayed generally in Texas, and I'm the only one that's 6 hours away. So it's different. At the time, I was in a relationship. starting starting at a new company in a big position, a lot of responsibilities. Then I started another business venture. I had so many different things going on. I don't think any normal person could have sustained all of that at that time because there were so many things thrown at you left and right. I learned so much about myself. I walked away from something that literally was draining a lot out of me. I had to grow up out of that, be a man. I'm away from family. You know, you busy your friends and your family all the time. And then at that time, my younger brother had testicular cancer. So he's
Oh,
he's
sorry to hear
17,
that.
18 years old. You know, I'm away. He's going through that. I have to be really strong because he looks up to me. You know, mama's always going to be sad, but I got to be that strong one, even though sometimes you may just want to sit down and break down when you're talking to him. Going through that process, I just learned so much about myself. And I thank God he overcame it and things like that. But as a man, I just learned so much of what I want in life, what I don't want in life, what I want in a woman, what I don't want in a woman, who I want to be, who am I? You know, I think going through college, I thought I knew who I was. I don't really think I knew who I was until I touched Oklahoma because I learned so much about myself. I
Mm.
thought I wasn't really big into faith until I got here. The first Sunday that I was here by myself, I went to church, and I just fell in love, you know. And now I feel like God is a evolving process of my life. I'm still learning a lot, and I think down the line, ministry may be calling me. I really do think God has may build me up
Okay,
towards that.
preacher,
But,
preacher.
you know, I think about that all the time. But you know, I think any person you got to go out there and take a chance on yourself. Go out there and get uncomfortable, even if it's for a year or two. I'm not saying go do that for the rest of your life, but take that experience because it's going to teach you so much. When your back is against the wall and you feel like nobody else is there, God is right there. So when I got here, I don't think it was a time where, yeah, you missed everybody, but I don't think I ever got real sad and it's like, I can't do this. If I ever thought about that, I'm either working on some business, I was going doing something else. And I never felt necessarily alone because when I first got here, God gave me a network of people. I met so many great people within the 3 month span that I felt like I was right at home. And yeah, it was boring because it's not Houston. You know, it's not the nightlife that I'm used to. It's not like the fun that I'm used to, but I learned a lot. And I think it's going to be a huge part of my story moving forward. You know, Oklahoma really made me a man. You know, I thought San Antonio made me a man, but I think Oklahoma really made me a man. So, you know, now I'm ready to get back to Texas and start the next phase of my life. But I wouldn't trade this for nothing. I wouldn't go back and say I wouldn't take this offer because I would be a fool if I didn't. Sometimes you have to separate to elevate, and I think that was the right thing for me.
Facts. So, what do you feel like was stunting your growth in Texas? Was it like the comfortable, like your family was around, or because, like you said, it seems like you needed to move, physically move, because we can move mentally in our mind, but you needed to physically move. What was in Texas that was stunting your growth?
I think just being comfortable with, I think stagnant. I think one of the biggest things, you're around the same people. Everybody's always gassing you up because you're doing certain things, and it's like, let me go somewhere else where I'm not the man anymore. Well, I kind
Okay.
of got to start from the bottom, and I think that was the best thing for me. And also the certain people you're around, and I'm not saying that I had like a bad group around me. There was certain stuff around me that I just outgrew, and you're that's what you're used to. So you're going to automatically latch onto that. But as you're trying to grow and get to that next level, as painful that it is, everybody can't go. And that was my thing.
True.
You know, whatever relationship I was in, I'm thinking this is gonna come with me. That literally was something that was draining, you know, the life out of me. I suppose you might say. So I had to realize that coming to Oklahoma, you know, I needed to be separated from that because at the end of the day, I don't think I would be able to. I think things would have happened. I still would have had some success in Texas, but I don't think I would be able to do the things that I did within a year of being in Oklahoma. I wrote the book here, published the book here. You know, I did a lot of different things here in a 1 year span. I got a huge promotion within 10 months of me just living here. So much happened. And I think being in Texas, I would have been slightly distracted and things would have been different or would have been delayed. But like I said, I wouldn't trade it for nothing. You know, I think sometimes God puts you in a situation for you to learn. And I think until you learn it, that's when it's time for you to evolve and grow
It's
from it.
gonna keep coming around if you don't. And have
Keep
you?
coming around from it. And if I didn't learn anything, I'll probably be in Arkansas next year. He probably send me somewhere else. You know, I'm gonna send you over here
Yeah.
because you still don't understand what's going on. And I think that's just a part of life. And like I said, I thank God for it every day.
Have you lost some people along the way?
Um, I necessarily wouldn't say lost, but I learned to put people in categories.
Speak
I
on
know
that.
I can depend on certain people for certain things, right? And I know certain people who has my back through it all. So I learned to prioritize my friends. I learned to rearrange my friend group. Everybody shouldn't have access to you. Everybody shouldn't have the full access. So I learned that the person I was with, you know, I lost that person, but that was for the better for me because I had to get on to the next level. You know, everything happened the way it's supposed to happen. And, you know, you may go through that phase of feeling, you know, sorrow and all that, but at the end of the day, there is light at the end of the tunnel. And once I got through everything, I started to see the vision a lot clearer, and I just thank God for it. So now I know exactly what I'm expecting, what I'm looking for, and I'm glad my mindset changed. That was the biggest thing for me. Yeah, you lost some people with the mindset changes. If you look at yourself a certain way, you shouldn't have everybody's energy absorbing to you. That was one of my things. I had way too many energies around me. I let everybody be a friend when some people just didn't really, care. Once you cut that off and you be stern on your word, then you start to see things and see people for who they really are.
Wow. Sounds like you've been doing a lot of growth, a lot of inward, because I mean, we got to work on us to even be able to give back, to even show up for other people. And so, man, man, that access thing, I feel like, man, it's just sometimes we can be too available, and that might sound it's kind of like you damage your worth, I want to say, kind of like, because it's like people don't value you anymore when you're so accessible.
Exactly.
No, it's like you lose your value, and that's crazy that you said that. But no, I hear you speak about God a lot, and God is very important in my life. And so, what has God meant to you? Like, what does He mean to you in Sanders in your life, your personal relationship, your family? Like, what does God mean to you?
God is everything to me. I think like I said, the relationship has grown, has grown since I've gotten here, and I just realized how powerful God is. One of the things that I noticed, and my granny used to tell me this all the time: God speaks to you through a lot of people. And so I think throughout my life, He's always spoken to me, and I don't think I really truly understood His power until I got here, or His presence until I got here. And so I don't know, man. It was just like it's like He kept telling me certain things, and it's like I had a barber in San Antonio. Man, he literally, my haircut's like 30, 45 minutes. I would be in a chair for at least an hour or 2 hours. And we'll be just talking about life. He'd be speaking a lot of stuff to me. He spoke some proverbs to me. And he told me this. He said, many are called, few are chosen. He said, I see
Thanks.
you coming here with your friends. He said, you have a certain aura about you. He said, you got to, he said, keep doing what you're doing. Keep pushing. There's a bigger purpose for you. So, at the time, you're like, okay, what does he really mean by that? But I think it started to reveal itself over time. And so that's when I realized, like, God is been behind me through everything. I think sometimes I used to be scared of certain things. I don't feel that anymore because I know God is right there. If I feel that something, there's a reason why. If something doesn't go my way, there's a reason why. And, you can walk through a room full of, I don't know, fire or opposition. And I don't feel that fear anymore because at the end of the day, God got me. And so I think,
Yeah.
having that big brother, that guidance, or that mentor around you, I think that just makes your life a whole lot easier. And man, God means a lot. Not like I said, I'm still growing in my faith. I want to say I'm fairly new into it. I still want to get baptized here in the next year or so. I still want to learn more of the words and things like that. But I feel like this is a started relationship that's going to last forever. And I think He's impacted me so much in my life that I'm doing His work. Giving back to our kids, doing certain things. I'm doing God's work, and it's all a part of the plan. I just want to keep living it every day.
So did you know your greatness, or did God reveal your greatness to you? Because I know, like, for me, and I'll speak on that. I'll say that with me, people would tell me I was great in this. Like, man, people just like to be around you. Your energy is crazy. Like, you're just so deep. Like, you make people feel better about themselves, and I just like to talk to you. And I always speak on my girl Alicia Keys, like her book that I read, and like I had issues with being a light. I had issues with people shining a light on me. I had issues with people saying, like, you're this, you're that, and saying how great I am. So I had to, like I said, do some self-reflection and do some work on Lynette so that I could understand, like, how great I am. Did you always know, or did God kind of show you that you were great, or that you were this powerful motivational speaker?
I would say at growing up, I think I always knew something was there because, like I said, I just had that knack for just being something. In high school, you was a class clown. You was always in front of people. You always had that light around you. You always had a lot of, I guess, clout, you could say. So I think that was always there. And then my granny used to always tell me, she said, like, you was like two walking around with like a book in your hand, just walking around talking. So when
Okay.
you hear the stories, you're like, okay. And then one thing too, I always knew I was different because I never liked toys growing up. I didn't have Spider-Man. What I wanted was take me to Family Dollar. Let's go get some fake money and a cell phone.
Okay.
So growing up as a kid, like, and like I could never say I was into cartoons like that. So I think I always knew something was different then. And as I started to get through high school, I don't know, I was just like, I just felt something. And then once you start doing the things that you're doing, it's like, I think I was made to do this because it was second
Okay.
nature to me. The first time that I've ever spoke, I never studied. I don't think I ever prepared for it. We was up playing 2K all night. Got up at 7:00 in the morning. We went to the school, and we're at a middle school. I'm speaking to 7 different classes. This is about 6, 7 hours of speaking. And at the end, my bro Mike was like, "Hey man, did you practice?" I said, "Bro, we was up playing the game all night. I didn't practice anything." But that's when I
Wow.
realized I was like, "Wow!" I said, "I think this is for me. I think this is my God given talent. There's no way anybody can just go out there and just do that with the 7 hours of the same exact speech with no practice. I don't even think I ever even looked at the PowerPoint. But that's when I got the
Wow.
affirmation of, yeah, this is you. Embrace it and take it on full head. And then since then, I think I've been doing that my whole life.
Don't let the baby face fool you, huh?
Yeah.
Don't let the baby face fool you. So, okay, talking about you're the author of the best-selling book, The Art of Giving. So, can you tell us, like, how did that idea come about, and like, what is it all about? Why do you feel like giving is an art?
Mhm. Giving is an art because I feel like you have to know how to give, and it has to be intentional. I think in life you have so many people that give. Don't get me wrong, a lot of people give, but it's not with the intention of the better of people. And I think that's where our society and our community goes wrong. And so, one thing that I've learned, I just want to be able to be intentional in every aspect of life. So the art of giving, teaching people how to truly give, because I think once you truly give, you change everything, not only for yourself but for the next person and the next person. So, one of my biggest things was, everybody wants to know, how did you do that so fast? How did you create a nonprofit and just take off, right? Especially our kids. This is geared towards our young leaders and our young change makers. They always ask me these questions. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to put something together that I think I know is going to outlive me. It's going to be here for eternity, that the next person can read and be inspired from. I may not necessarily change the world, but I can spark the next group of minds that'll change
Okay.
the world. That was kind of my idea behind it. So originally, the title, we wasn't going to go the nonprofit route. I wanted to do a self-book. But then I realized, I'm like, man, you're 23, well, maybe 21 at the time. You haven't really lived enough life to do a self-book. You don't have a crazy story behind you. It really wouldn't appeal to the masses at this time of my life. So I said, you know what, let's not do that. And I was like, what can I speak on that I'm passionate about? And what can I create that just will change? And I was like, well, I'm creating change right now in my own backyard. Why don't I just create a book about how I started and how you can get started? Because when I started, I had to ask questions. I didn't find a book that showed me how to do the nonprofit world. And I was looking for that. I couldn't find that. I found a lot of books, they were outdated. A lot of information was kind of old. So I was like, you know what, let me create that guide. And then that's where the idea came. And the art of giving, one nonprofit can change the world. Showing you a nonprofit is just not about just donations, things like that. It's way deeper than that. It's just like a big corporation. It's just like a business. But it's for the better of people. And so, I wanted to create that resource or that platform for you to learn how to do that and be inspired to change. Because when you hear our kids, they have the best ideas to do things. They just don't have the necessary resources or the knowledge to do that. So that's why I wanted to come in and bridge that gap and give you that book, or give you the resources, give you the blueprint to create change for our next generation.
Wow. So, how long was the whole process?
It was essentially about 2 years. So I think I started in my senior year of college, maybe, yeah. So I had like a rough draft going up. I had the idea. I think I had the title. I think, and I'm a big overthinker. I think I was just playing a game one night or doing something. And all of a sudden I was like, there, that's the title, Art of Giving. And I ran with it. So I think the idea was planted around 2018. 2019, getting ready to graduate, that's when I kind of started to take it serious, put the outline together, start putting my rough drafts together. Last summer is when I sat down and I knocked out like a couple of chapters. And then once I kind of got going with that, I started pushing it, just start pushing it. And then, once the book was created, go out, all the editing process, that's another 6 to 8 months. And then I set a target. I said, I want to release it on my birthday, April 3rd of 2020. And so until that day, we were just pushing marketing. And once it was released, despite COVID delayed a lot of things. We weren't able to do the book signings, couldn't do any tours and things like that. But it still was a worldwide success. So I'm thankful for that. So about a good 2 years. It could have been faster if I wasn't in college. But being in college, you got a lot of things going on. So I had to take care of that first and graduate. But yeah, essentially about 2 years.
No, I can understand that. So, you being a motivational speaker, I'm gonna give you a few minutes and just speak to that child. Speak to that child out there that may be living in a home where no one has taught them, about the economy, how to set themselves up for the next day. Because I know, like us in the African American community, sometimes we live for the now. We want the Jordans, we want the rims, we want what we can see with our eyes. Like, we just don't allow ourselves to see ourselves in the future. Because some of us, depending on the neighborhood we live in, we don't see ourselves living past 21. We don't see ourselves getting to 18. So I'm gonna give you 2 or 3 minutes and just speak to that man, speak to that young girl that her parents are, I don't know, maybe working 3 jobs and they're never home, and she does not feel like feeling love. She doesn't know what decisions to make in her life, because like she's taking care of her sisters, her brothers, because she's been a mother, because her mother is always trying to work. Speak to that child that are going through struggles, and just speak to them, just motivate them.
Yeah. I would say this: that struggle or that whatever you're going through in this time, it's a part of your process. But I want you to take that pain and turn that into some type of joy. And when I say that is, yeah, we go through some things like it's gonna hurt. People are gonna hurt us. We're gonna fail. We're going to see that certain things. But whatever you're going through, it's a walking. It's a building something for your future self. That person that's taking care of somebody at 12 years old and that don't know nothing about life, God is building something for you where you may be 21, 22. You may be running a company where you have to take care of 12-year-olds or something like that. So whatever you're going through now, use that pain and embrace it, but also use it as a leverage. How can I change my circumstances? And one of the biggest things I want to tell you is God is not going to give you more than you can handle. And I think a lot of us, we go through some things in life and we may feel like, why me? Why do I have to do this? Why am I the chosen one? But at the same time, you are God's strongest warriors, because when you think about it, your back is against the wall. Change shoes with somebody else. Person A couldn't go do what you're doing.
Yeah.
Person B couldn't go do what you're doing. You were meant to do that. So, learn to use that pain and turn that into some type of joy. When you're going through this process and it's got so much other things going on, find something that stimulates your mind, that makes you happy. Not something that makes your mom happy, your brother happy. Find something that makes you happy, because throughout everything, that's what's going to keep you going. There were times where, I was down and I was just like, man, I'm tired of this. Why everything keep happening to me? Why I keep getting so much bad luck? But I will always find joy and go and speak to my kids. There was times where I probably didn't have money in my pocket, but I'm gonna go speak to some kids and I'm gonna be happy in my life. And so, find something that you just find joy in. Once you find joy into it, keep doing that, because it's gonna open up and it's gonna break you open. Once you hit that breaking point, and once God just opens up life for you, you will start to understand why things happen. But and I think in our society, we get so down about our certain circumstances because we live for the now, like you said. Last thing I'm gonna say is, think about it like this: the tale of two millionaires. There's two people in life. One person wants everything now. They don't want to think about it. They're not building for the future. They want everything now. But you got the other millionaire who says, I can pass on that million right now because I know I'm not ready. I can pass on that blessing because I know I'm not ready. Yeah. One of the things a couple years ago I kept telling myself was, I want to be this. I want to blow up. I want to go viral and do all this. But over time, I said, I don't think I was ready. And I don't still think I'm quite ready yet. I think God is building me up. I'm being built for it, but I'm not ready yet. Because if it happens, will you be able to sustain it? How will you keep up with it? What will you do with that? Think of it like that. Person A and person B, the tale of the two millionaires. In our society, a lot of us live like person A. We want everything now. We get all the money now. We get our income tax check now, and there's nothing to see for 3 years later.
Speak on that.
And, and what do you, person B? Let's be more, let's think more. Let's research more. Let's plan for the future. I'm not doing this just because I want to do this for me and go viral. Now, I got kids that I want to have in a few years and things like that. I'm building a legacy. I'm making my last name mean something. So you want to look at life like that. If do I want to be person A or person B? Do I want it all now, or will I want to be able to sustain it and build it for the rest of my life? And I think once we learn how to change and turn that switch on in our minds, it's like, nah, I want the future. I think we'll create more, because when you do it like that, you're not only doing it for yourself. Your kids, their kids, it'll be a pipeline going down. You look at the Walmart family, I believe, or the Rockefeller family. I think he passed away a long time ago. Those kids are still eating. Now their kids are circulating. It's a family business. So once our people activate in their mind that we can do the same exact thing, we will be super powerful economically, and that will turn into the political power, and that will turn into the change that we're seeking. But until then, I think we'll still be stuck in our rat race. So for any young person, to get back to the message, any young person that feels like I'm stuck in this, I'm never going to get out, man, there are people who I went through mud. All the celebrities that we worship, all these great people that worship, they went through every painful thing, and they made it out on top. Write your story. Don't mimic nobody else's story. Write your own story. Because 20 years from now, you can go back and say, I was 12 years old and I feel like I would never be here today. You could go back at 30 years old, and you can go to the next 12-year-old. And so, use that as a power play and as an inspiration to go back and create that change.
Man, that was fun. You motivated me. You got me raising up in my seat. No, that was awesome. So man, legacy, that's what I'm all about. Because like I said, challenges, different things I had in life that I didn't have. That's why I'm going to education. I want to give back. So it's about leaving. It's like when I'm gone, like, what did I leave? What imprint did I leave on the world? It's not about this me living now. And so, man, I just think that sometimes with us, we're so selfish, and that we don't realize that God put you on this earth to do something, to impact somebody's life. Like I always say in my podcast, somebody needs to meet you to be great. And so if you don't know who you are, then that person may never know who they are. And so whatever God put inside of you, don't sleep on that. Don't sit on that. Don't like with you, like, man, motivation speaking, like, I only met you. This is my first time talking to you. And so, like, it's in you. Like, you have a spirit of influence. Like, when you speak, I listen. And so keep doing that. Like, don't ever stop talking. Don't ever stop speaking, because somebody needs to hear that. And so this has been an amazing conversation. So I just want my listeners to be able to keep in contact with you. So how do they donate to the Sanders Foundation, Sanders Hand Foundation? How do they purchase your book? Like, how much does it cost on like Amazon or anything like that? And why should they buy your book? Why should they donate to the Sanders Hand? So let us.
Yeah, so you guys can donate to the Sanders Hand. So we're all our social media platforms is at sandershand.org. Our website is www.sandershand.org. You know, your donation it's not just you just giving money. I look at it like this: you're becoming part of the change, but also creating a family culture. What we're doing is we're building future generation of leaders for success, one student at a time. Your donation is helping that next president, that next councilman, that next doctor, that next nurse. You know, we're building these for these students. You know, your donation can change a child's life. Think about it like this: I had a young lady. Well, I'm sorry, the first young person that we gave a scholarship to, it was a 14-year-old professional boxer. Came from a pretty good home, but they just had the lack of resources. Everybody that donated helped that kid get everything he needed to go to school the following year. We took him shopping, had a great time. So you're not only just giving a donation to an organization saying, hey, well, I can write off on my tax next year. You're creating a line of change for our kids. So just, you know, I don't necessarily look at it like a donation. I look at it like you're sponsoring your kid to an extent. Right. So, you know, I encourage everybody to go out and donate, whether that's $1, $5, $10, even if it's not monetary. You can donate by going and following our pages, telling a friend, you know, just helping us, you know, spread the word out. You know, any way you can support is always going to be needed, you know. So I encourage any and everybody to, you know, go out and follow us, volunteer with us, just connect with us. You know, let's grow and let's learn together. You can purchase your book on Amazon, Art of Giving, One Nonprofit Can Change the World, or just type in my name, Sebastian Sanders. It should come up under books. This is a book of change. In times like this, with everything that's going on, I think everybody needs to sit down and read something that's going to create change. Going into this new year with the new president, we're hoping that things are going to be different for our society and for our culture. Read this book, because this is going to be the book that's going to create a powerful nonprofit that's going to change the world. Maybe even it's going to be bigger than the Sanders Hand. That's how I look at it. So, you know, this is the book for you. Any person that is a person of influence or leadership, you should be reading this book going into the new year. We have the autograph copies on our website at sandershand.org at $25. I personally autograph each copy, so you can go and get that. I package those personally myself. So, you know, I always throw in some other stuff too. So you can go and get that on my website. My personal website is sjsenterprises.com, and you can kind of check out more about me. I'm on LinkedIn at Sebastian Sanders. So connect with me on LinkedIn. Every professional, I encourage you to get on LinkedIn, leverage those resources. I'm on Twitter at Sebastian James with 2 E's. It's my personal Twitter. I like to tweet on there. I like to have fun with my tweets. So it's not too professional, you know, so we can have a conversation about anything. You know, I'm going to argue with you about Kobe Bryant and Tupac for sure. So I will argue with you about
going down on Twitter.
Yeah, I'll argue with you about my guys. One of my biggest platforms is Sebastian J. Sanders. My personal Instagram is where all of my Money Mondays content, all of my speaking videos, everything is right there. And I have a business Facebook page as well at, I believe it's Sebastian Sanders. You can type in my name and I'll pull it up.
Can people book you? Like, I mean, I'm in St. Louis. Are you traveling, or can they book you, or how?
Yeah, so you can book me through the Sanders Hand website, or you can book me through sjsenterprises.com. Right now, traveling it depends on location and what exactly we're doing. Preferably trying to get the Zoom, you know, thing going on. But, you know, if there's something presents itself where I can be in person, you know, I'm definitely there. So you guys can visit my website. So just shoot me a message. I get you in contact with somebody from our team, and we get the booking process going. Love getting on these interviews. So anytime anybody wants me to do an interview, if you want me to do another interview, just let me know and we can set that up for sure.
Oh, word. This has been great. And so I always give my guests an opportunity to leave a quote or a scripture. Is there anything like a quote that's jumping out at you, or scriptures you want to leave with the listeners?
Yeah, one thing I want to say is don't look for change, be the change. Don't go seeking something in the local newspaper or somebody to do something for you. If you see a problem, you got 2 arms and 2 legs, God still has you walking each day, go out and create the solution to that. And I just want to tell each and everybody that if I didn't create my solution in my community, I wouldn't be here today. You know, I'd be somewhere, I don't know, I'll probably be doing something good in life, but 10 years from now, I'll still be regretting, like, man, I should have did that. Don't be that person. Yeah. Don't look for change, be the change. It's in you, and then it will always be within you, but you have to embrace it and love self.
Oh, it's been dope. I thank you, Sebastian, for sitting down and speaking with us today. This has been an amazing, motivational, inspirational conversation. And you all know, at the Nice to Meet You podcast, I cannot leave you all without quoting my favorite scripture found in Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the thoughts I think towards you, saith the Lord, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you an expected end. God's going to bring us to our expected end, you and me. All right? So go out there this week, continue to be amazing, continue to be great. Nice to meet you. Let's go.